Hello there, listeners, and welcome back to my cozy little corner of the internet. In the previous episode, Jasper realizes that Eric may no longer be on the island and sets off to find him, though he has a new ally in Mel. In today's episode, we shall continue with this tense tale. So grab your favourite beverage, sit back, relax, and I shall begin. Chapter 4 Prisoner at Sea. Eric groaned as he opened his eyes. He blinked twice before sitting up and holding his head. He screwed his eyes shut as he tried to remember what happened. He remembered going into the bait shop and buying the hook and the lure for the monument. Think, Eric. You were on your way back when you heard a voice. A song, he whispered as his hands gripped something soft. He looked down and saw that he was sitting on a bed. He smiled. It was quite comfortable and so soft he felt he would sink into the mattress. I ended up somewhere comfortable at least, he remarked before he shook his head. Keep it together, Eric, he admonished himself as he looked around the room. I need to figure out where I am. He saw a bookshelf with some books on it, a closet with the door closed, and a door which he had assumed led outside. The room was basic and wasn't particularly large, but it wasn't cramped either. He tried to stand up, only to lose his balance. Fortunately, he was able to catch himself before he fell back onto the bed. Is this place moving? He questioned as he waited a moment to get used to the movement. It was smooth for the most part, but there was a slight up and down motion. He looked around again and saw a decent-sized round window along the wall. He walked towards it and looked out to see ocean waves. Eric took a step back, visibly confused and worried. He was out at sea, that much was certain. But how did he end up there? He paced up and down as he tried to remember something, anything that would help him figure out where he was and how to get back. I remember hearing the song. I resisted for a bit, but then it took hold of me. He retraced his steps once more. After that, nothing, until I woke up here. He frowned as he thought about it more. Who was it? And what did they want with me? Questions as he walked towards the door. He then reached out and grabbed the doorknob, turning it. Locked, he muttered as he tried again, turning it both ways to make sure he wasn't turning it the wrong way. Okay, not a big deal, he muttered as he stepped back and started to feel uneasy, but he pushed those feelings down. No sense in panicking just yet. I'm sure there's something in this room I could use to pick the lock. He ran towards the bookshelf and searched through the books, and even reached up to the top shelf. There was nothing. He then started searching inside the closet, under the bed, and even around every nook and cranny he could find. There was nothing, not even a speck of dust. Eric refused to give up and ran to the porthole. It might be a little bit of a squeeze, but I'm a strong swimmer, so it shouldn't be a problem for me, he remarked, trying not to brag. Not that it mattered, because no one was around, and he stood by that statement. He examined the porthole closely. It looked like the glass was fused to the metal frame. There was no way for it to open. Which makes sense. Most portholes don't open, Eric remarked nonchalantly, trying not to let the situation get to him. Why would whoever had taken me put me in a room with a means to escape? That would just be dumb. He laughed a little, but it was only to stop himself from crying due to the frustration and stress that was creeping in. Would have helped, though, he muttered as he rested his forehead against the glass. He stepped away from the porthole. That was out, too. No big deal. He could find another way out. He walked to the bookshelf and started to move it. Maybe there was a secret passage behind it. The bookshelf was heavy, and he could only move it a small amount. I really need to work out more, he muttered as the shelf moved, just enough that he could see behind it. There was nothing. No faint outline or anything to indicate that there was a door of some kind. Eric let out a frustrated groan as he moved the bookshelf back into position. That's it? There's no way out? He mumbled as he walked away from the bookshelf. I'm trapped in here. And Jasper probably thinks I left on my own. I wish I could get a message out to him. He searched his pockets for his phone, but he couldn't find it. They must have taken it. Not that I'd be able to get a signal out here, but still. He sighed as he looked towards the bed and walked towards it. With each step he took, the bed seemed to be further away. Then he remembered. I'm just imagining it, he told himself over and over. However, after a few more steps, he stopped as he grew uneasy. He tentatively looked around the room, and it felt smaller, like the walls were closing in. Eric breathed rapidly. as he could hear his heart beating loudly. He looked at his hands, and they were shaking violently. He felt dizzy as panic started to overtake him. No, he couldn't be in this situation. Not again. He placed his hands over his chest and closed his eyes, wanting to be anywhere else at that moment. Where are you now? Huh? Eric uttered as he tried to look for the source of the voice, only to realize that he was alone. I'm going crazy. Where are you now? The same voice repeated, but clearer this time. It took him a moment to realize that it was his own voice in his head. I'm trapped. That's where. I mean physically. Look around. What do you see? Eric took a deep breath to slow his heart rate. He turned around and he spotted the door, a mighty and thick wooden door firmly locked. It stood between him and freedom. I see the door. Good. What else? Eric took another deep breath as he felt his heart rate slow down. He slowly looked around the room and saw the now familiar fixtures of the room. I see the bookshelf, the bed, the porthole. He started to relax as he listed off the items, physical objects, but it didn't change his current situation. I'm still trapped, though. Don't think about that. You'll only drive yourself mad, his own voice advised. Those objects you described, keep them in mind. It'll keep you grounded. It'll keep you calm while you wait for an opportunity to escape. What if that opportunity never comes? He questioned. Truth be told, he felt rather pessimistic about the situation he was in. Who could blame him, really? He waited for a moment, expecting an answer, but no answer came. Guess even my own brain grew bored, or fell asleep. He took another deep breath and placed his hand on his chest. His heart was beating slower. He looked at everything around the room and mentally recited what was there. It seemed to do the trick, as the walls no longer felt like they were closing in. He walked over to the bed and sat down on it, squeezing the sheets in his hand. Their softness comforted him, and at that moment he felt much calmer. There wasn't much he could do at that moment except wait for an opportunity to escape. When the time came, he would grab it like his life depended on it. He lay back on the bed, deciding to rest for a little while. He needed to save his strength. He muttered the names of the objects in the room again until he drifted to sleep. Eric woke with a start as he heard a loud noise. He quickly sat up and looked around for the source. His body was tense. He balled his hands into fists, ready to fight if he needed to. However, when he looked over at the door, he saw that a hatch in the door had opened. How did he miss that? He slowly stood up and stretched and walked over to the door. When he approached, a tray of food slid through the hatch. He picked up the tray and examined it suspiciously. He looked at the food and saw that it was a large piece of pie. He sniffed it and learned that it was fish pie. Not his favourite, but he couldn't really be picky. There was also a chocolate pudding cup and a glass of fresh orange. It all looked quite appetizing. A little too appetizing, what was the old saying? If it's too good to be true, it probably is. He started to sniff the food more to try and detect any poisons or anything that might be in there. He wasn't entirely sure if sniffing it was the way to go, but it was better than nothing. It's not poisoned. A voice spoke to him from the other side of the door. It sounded female, and though he was skeptical, she sounded sincere. Where are we going? Eric asked. He figured that while someone else was there, albeit on the other side of a locked door, he might as well ask some questions. Home. The answer was short and to the point, and sounded rather blunt. Eric was taken aback by her tone, but he didn't judge her too harshly for it. She sounded young, so it's possible she wasn't much older than himself. I was already home, and you guys took me away, he stated fairly politely considering the situation. He didn't want to shout, but he also wanted to try and convince her that she had made a mistake. It's not too late to turn around. He heard a small laugh. We're quite a way through our journey. It would be pointless to turn around now. Just get whoever's in charge here. I could convince them that this is all a misunderstanding. Eric begged. He tried not to let panic set in, but he found it increasingly difficult. I can't do that, she responded rather abruptly. Eric just stared at the door. Why not? Fish pie tastes better warm. You better eat it before it gets cold. She quickly changed the subject and walked away. Hey! Don't change the subject! Eric called out to her as he banged on the door. Do you hear me? Answer my question! His yells fell on deaf ears as her footsteps faded away. Eric groaned in frustration and looked at the tray he was holding. He walked over to the bed, defeated, and sat down to eat. He smiled when he took his first bite. It tasted pretty good. Sometime later, he heard the hatch in the door open. "Bring your tray over here," a familiar voice called out to him. Eric stood up and carried the tray over and put it through the hatch. He saw it disappear to the other side and caught a glimpse of bright blue eyes staring back at him. "Hey, before you go, answer my question. Why can't you get the person in charge?" She seemed to ponder on an answer for a moment before speaking. "They don't want to talk to you right now, and no convincing will get them to talk to you." She was brutally honest in her response, though it seemed like she didn't really agree with what was happening. "Well, if they won't come to me to talk, maybe you could take me to them," he suggested, but she simply shook her head. "I can't. I'm under strict orders to keep you in this room until we arrive." "What if I need to go to the bathroom?" "There's a bucket in there." Eric frowned at her. "Seriously? You expect me to go in a bucket? You're holding me here in this room. Surely I should get to go to an actual bathroom at least." She thought about it before nodding. "That's fair," she answered and gave him a small smile. "I better take this. You might as well rest while you can. I was told we'll be arriving in an hour or so," she informed him, closing the hatch before she carried the tray away. "Hey! I thought you agreed to be fair," he called out to her, but she was already gone. "Damn, she moves fast." He sighed as he rested his head against the door. "Is it me? Or does she seem hesitant about the whole thing?" he mused as he looked up at the ceiling. "Jasper, I really hope you realize that I was taken against my will." That's the end of today's episode. Eric is trapped at sea, hoping that Jasper would figure out that he didn't leave willingly, and will come to find him. He may have to face the possibility of planning his own escape. Will Jasper and Mel be able to catch up while at sea? Or will Eric be taken to the mainland before they even get close? Tune into the next episode to find out.